Thank you for joining us here to stay informed and stay safe with Stop Scamming Me. I'm Dr. Keith Ludwig, and this is Jennifer Ludwig. So many calls come into our private investigation agency after a scam loss. We have spoken with retired people who've lost retirement savings, including several seniors who've lost so much they had to sell their home and move back in with their children.
It's just devastating.
A business associate of mine contacted me recently to discuss an issue he was struggling with. It seems his mother, retired and living in their family home, was contacted by an individual from California who convinced her to invest in his company.
Wasn't it some sort of a startup that he was pretending he had?
Yes. The man suggested she take out a second mortgage on her house for over $200,000 and that she would net a significant return in just a couple of weeks. Well, you can guess what happened. The individual fell off the map, the company dissolved, and was never heard of again. As a result, this woman had to sell her house with no equity and move in with her son.
This was their family home. Like all the kids had been raised there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was so distressing.
In fact, these calls are occurring at such an alarming rate that we decided to launch Stop Scamming Me to help. The first step we took was a deep dive into the web to analyze the data around scams.
Yes, as you know, the state and federal reports were shocking. The FBI has tracked fraud since 2013, and starting in 2020, they dedicated a specific report to senior fraud called the IC3 report. This official report focuses on the number of scams perpetrated nationwide against seniors over 60.
Many people still think the average losses are between $500 and $2,000. Unfortunately, I'm getting more and more reports of losses in the $30,000 to $100,000 range.
Devastating.
Recent news articles have disclosed losses of up to $1.5 million.
The FBI report mentioned above shows that just a couple of years ago, the average loss per victim was $9,500. This is what $10,000 looks like. It's a whole stack of hundreds. Now, this is just prop money. It's not actually real. But it is actually what $10,000 would look like. And what alarms me is it seems as though everyone has read news articles or attended law enforcement seminars on scams and fraud.
Yes, they have.
I know when we talk to people, everyone assures us that they know about scams. If those articles and presentations were effective, we would have seen a decrease in the number of scams and the amount of the losses, right?
You would think so.
Yeah, instead in the following years, the FBI report showed that the average loss, although it started at $9,500, had increased to $34,000 per person. That is a 400% increase.
That's a lot of money. It's a loss for each of those individuals and for our country. According to that same report, the losses nationwide totaled $3.4 billion.
No, that's with a B.
And remember, that's just seniors over 60. You might be wondering what law enforcement is doing about this epidemic of scams. Well, law enforcement through all our communities are struggling with the fraud epidemic.
They've kind of compared it to the amount of work they had in the 90s with the OxyContin loss.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming. The fraud epidemic, especially when taking into account all the other crimes that are being committed, particularly violent crimes. Unfortunately, they simply just do not have the resources to devote large amounts of personnel to investigate minor fraud. And when I say minor, I mean those less than $10,000 to $20,000.
I don't think it feels minor to the people losing that money.
No, it doesn't. Because there's so much fraud occurring, most state agencies won't look into fraud of less than about $50,000.
They take the report, though.
They will, and the FBI tracks this information, but investigating them is tough. Sure, states and communities could hire more police and devote more resources to frauds and scams, but in the big picture, the vast majority of communities would rather have those law enforcement resources dedicated towards stopping and solving violent crimes. It's super important to realize that the absolute best thing you can do to stop this epidemic is to educate yourselves. Remember, I said earlier that in 2023, the estimated loss was $3.4 billion, and that's just from seniors.
$3.4 billion. I have an illustration that shows the enormity of that dollar amount. Let's have this one corn kernel represent $10,000, which was the average loss of victims in 2020. I'm going to drop that corn kernel into our bucket. That's $10,000 of loss. Now, let's see what $3.4 billion sounds like. Dr. Ludwig and I did the calculations, so this is accurate. Thousands and thousands
wait.
and millions of dollars, and we're not done yet. It's distressing to realize how much money from the seniors in our country is being lost to scammers. So people are reading news articles and they're attending law enforcement seminars, but if that interaction isn't helping, what are people supposed to do? Because it feels very helpless right now. It feels like, well, I guess it's my turn to lose 34,000. I guess I'll just hand over my credit card to some scammer.
It does get discouraging. But as you know, that was the motivation behind creating Stop Scamming Me. My drive to protect others is deeply personal. Our own experiences inspired this founding of Stop Scamming Me. Having friends and family falling victim to scams inspired both of us to develop this unique approach to educating and helping the senior community. This personal connection fuels our relentless pursuit of justice and client protection. Our approach is rooted in my personal experience coupled with a rigorous examination of the latest academic research on why seniors are targeted and how to educate and protect them, and the best possible methods for stopping scams and fraud before they happen. We don't provide long, generic videos that are out of date within a very short amount of time. Stop Scamming Me offers short, concise, easily understood content to help educate people on the latest frauds by focusing on specific fraud, scams, and the best way to protect yourself from them.
The videos have a lot of very specific real-life examples on each fraud, right?
Absolutely, yes. With our video content, Stop Scamming Me offers the ability to connect with others and myself to talk about the latest scams and what you can do to protect yourselves. Our subscription offers individuals the opportunity to browse dozens and dozens of governmental and private information that you can review at your leisure, as well as articles and current events to help you stay ahead of the scammers and fraudsters. Stop Scamming Me offers a plan to help you stay informed and stay safe.
Having a plan ahead of time sounds great. It always feels better to prepare and learn before the problem occurs. We continue to encourage people to stay informed and stay safe. If you're ready to be an expert in preventing scams and fraud and protecting your finances, be sure to click on the next link. Stay informed, stay safe.
That's right. Join us in taking back control and telling those fraudsters, stop scamming me.